All right, let's talk about Unit 4, Lesson 4, Linear Function Composites. So what does the word composition of a function actually mean? So basically, it's a fancy way to say substituting one function or value into a second function. Okay, so we just did function operations, so this is the fifth operation. It's called composition. So there's two different notations. You might see it written as f of g of x. So g of x is a function and f is a function name. So those are your two functions. They also use f with a little circle, g of x. So that doesn't mean to multiply, it's just telling you the variable name, but it's still f of g. All right, so g is a function and f is a function. So the way that you actually evaluate is you always evaluate the either second function, like right here, or the inside first, because this would be inside the parentheses, okay? So that's what you do first, and then you evaluate it by substituting into either the first or the outside function. So I would take g and I would substitute it into f, and I would take g and substitute into f, okay? The order is important. All right, so let's look at our first example. We've got g and h, and it says find g of h of n. So since you have the n is already the variable, you can kind of ignore that. So we want to take h, which is n minus 1, and I want to substitute that everywhere I see the variable in the g function. So if I could cut this out and paste it, that's what we're really doing. So I'm going to have the 2, and I'm going to paste this n minus 1 in that spot. And I still need to add 3. So notice, the g function still has this format. You're just replacing n with n minus 1. So then you simplify this. We'll distribute and combine like terms. Okay? Usually when you have a variable, you'll have a variable in your answer. All right, let's do a different one. We have the same functions, g and h, except now they want you to do h of g of n. So that means you're going to take g and substitute it into the variable in h. So here's g. If I could cut that out, I want to paste it right in that variable spot. So I would be left with 2n plus 3 and then minus 1. So notice we're not multiplying it by n, we're cutting it out and we're replacing it. So if I combine like terms, I get 2n plus 2. So notice we don't get the same answer. You don't always. 1% of the time you do, and that's just a lucky coincidence. So let's try example 3. I changed the notation. So this is f of g of t. Notice t is your variable, so you can kind of ignore that. I'm going to take g, and we're going to replace the variable in f. So here's g, and I replace it right there. Now, you have to be careful because the negative stays. I replace the t. It's still squared plus 5. Now, to get full credit, I do need to simplify this. So I've got like a negative 1, and then this really means you can't just square each term. It does not work. And in order to simplify this, I need to distribute. So I get negative 1, 2t times 2t, 2t times 5, 5 times 2t, 5 times 5. Then I distribute the -1 to all of those terms. And then combine like terms for your final answer. All right. So when you're given a value with composition, it's going to be a little easier. You should have one number for your work, step 1, and then one number for your final answer. So there's actually only one answer overall. So step number 1 is you're going to evaluate the either inside or second function first. Okay? And you should get a number. Then you're going to substitute that number into the either first or outside function. It depends on the notation that they are using. Okay, so like right here, I've got h of g of -8. So I'm going to take g as my inside function. So I want to take g and I want to replace the variable with -8. So -24 minus 2 is -26. This is my work. Okay? So if you're doing this on your homework, I should at least see one number knowing that you did this. So then step number 2 says I'm going to take, this is done. So now this is saying what's h of -26. So I'm going to take that -26 and I'm going to plug it into the variable in the h function. So here's h, and I want to substitute -26. So -104 plus 1, -103 is my overall answer. If I wrote this out, it would be h of g of -8 equals -103. All right, let's try another one. So I've got g of h of -6, so h is my inside function. I'm going to take h, and we're going to substitute -6 for the variable. Those are being multiplied. So 18 minus 4 is 14, and that's h of -6. So now this is saying what's g of 14? So I take 14 into the g variable. So 14 plus 5, and overall my final answer is 19.